get into the nitty gritty here. This meeting takes the place of normally what we would do at 8:15 a.m. on Saturday, where we all kind of set the tone for our adjudication. And it's a little bit strange because now we have the next week to do the adjudicating. So this little session may have worn off by then. But as always, I like to remind you that this is NATS. This is not the Metropolitan Opera auditions. This isn't an audition on Broadway. And we all know that NATS is extremely unique, very specific, unlike any other competition. And so we need to get our heads as adjudicators into that. That's why that rubric, which April would love to print off in a much larger font, is kind of our, we want to keep checking in with that, keep checking in with that, keep checking in with that, because from top to bottom, starting at the chapter level all the way up to national, that is how our students will be evaluated and assessed, whether we agree with it, whether we are like, that's not how Broadway does it. That's not how college auditions work. It doesn't matter. This is NATS. So we want to keep using that as our compass. So I'm going to share my screen. I believe the adjudicating goes live as soon as I click the button, which could be tonight at midnight, but my terrible, awful bad. I think all week this week, the board was going to help me make sure that all the YouTubes were what they said they were. And I completely brain farted that and did not do that. So we are going to need to talk, my auditions team, and just be like, do we just kind of let it go? And you all can email me when you're like, yo, why does this person have Pretty Funny up here 3 times and no, where are the rest of the videos? But so that's the fun of online for the first time. I'm just going to keep reminding you, if you watched the national auditions on the national finals, when they showed the winners, they played a wrong video on national stream. So I'm like, I feel permission to make a mistake. But hopefully it's not a thorny, horrible mess. So we'll talk, co-chairs. Okay. Gonna share this and show y'all some of this goodness that we have going on here. I don't think I need to share my sound, but yes, thank you for launching the, oh my gosh, move. Okay. So you are shortly going to get an email from, I think it's usually says it's coming from Auditionware. I never know. Brad kind of changes it. Sometimes it'll say it's coming from Nats. Sometimes it's going to say it's coming from me. Who knows? Once we send that out, I'll let you all know what it's going to look like. But you're going to get a link that's going to be telling you what categories you're judging. But basically, you're going to need to go into Nats like you usually would and log in and scroll down and click on the, if you're like me and you're on a wrong page, remember you can just always click on Member Home and then scroll down to the bottom and you're going to go into the Nats auditions registration. Okay. But I'm going to turn that page back because I needed to show you the other thing. Okay. Once you go into the audition registration, you're not registering your student, but that's how you're going to access the adjudicating. If you've done regionals or national adjudicating, it's the same. That part, I believe, is the same. If it's not, you guys just sip your wine and don't correct me. It's okay. Then right here, it says important. Adjudicators are required to watch this 18-minute video created by the national office. Click here to watch the video. I was so excited because I thought they made us a new video. Turns out it's the same video they've had since 2015, where darling Alan Henderson hems and haws and takes a long time to finish his sentences. And you're like, dude, y'all, we talk much faster in the North. Why do you talk so slow in the South? You're going to have to click, I acknowledge I watched this video. And then you're going to go down here. And so here we get a little teaser. We've got the one, our upper high school ladies, I believe we had 48 registered. So they're split into 2 categories. And one of them will be judged by Erin, Sarah, and Vanessa. So you would go in and you would, I would recommend that you would first click on pull up this form. Notice it says this page will time out in 30 minutes. Please save any changes after 15 minutes and return to edit this form if you need more time. This is key. You can return to edit the form any freaking time. Don't let this 30 minutes and 15 minutes thing freak you out. But notice that it's really pretty much the same, that you would have the paper. We've got the singer number. We've got their list of their repertoire. And then we come down to the X's. This is that part that I tell you your X's need to match your score, or else we're going to call you into the tally room. So, you're going to slide the X's over, and notice it gives you a numerical value. So you don't even have to guess what it is. You're going to slide it over to about what you think it should be. And then you have 3 sections for the comments, and you can click right on the YouTube and it will take you to the singer's YouTube. And you can type your comments into the selection. Once you are done, you're going to put your score in the box. Okay, I'm going to stop the share for a minute. I fervently urge you and strongly recommend with all of my blonde power, please, in a separate document of your choosing, type your comments. Please do not type the comments directly into that form, because all you need to do is have Xfinity have a little moment and you've lost your comments. Okay, please, please, please type your comments separately, and then you can cut and paste them into that form so that they are not lost. Personally, I find this useful because then I have one document, and I usually write in, red dress, funny nose, the rude only for me comments so that I'll remember the singer, or like weird backstage, where the heck is the singer singing kind of things, so that I kind of remember. And then I type the name of their repertoire, and then I type my little paragraph of comments that I'm sitting there typing while they're singing. And then I can kind of go back and edit them and be all nice, and then copy and paste them into that form. Okay. So once more, for those in the back, please type your comments in a separate document so that you can save it to your computer in case things crash. And then you can put them into that form. Please do not type directly into Auditionware, or you will be crying and calling me, and I'll be crying, and we'll just all cry. The one thing that came up in the national meeting this summer, and that I feel bad to say on a recording and be official about, in the past, one of the biggest issues that we've had in chapter auditions is time, and the whole, you have a timer and you have to call time and you cut off the singer. And we have some teachers who are very distressed, and they try to choose songs that fit under the time, even though we've been told over and over and over that no penalty is given to a singer if they have more music than fits in the allotted time. Guess what? I have zero way of enforcing this on y'all. If you want to watch a singer sing for 27 minutes online, at the national level, they do not care. We had our national, Dan Wilcott, whatever his hyphenated name is, Dan was like, oh yeah, I just press click, I press play on those YouTubes, and I just let them roll while I'm typing your comments. Here's what I've discovered. Any of you who've done regional and national adjudicating is you think to yourself, oh, because people aren't walking in and out of the room, it's going to go much faster. In my experience, online goes much slower. I guess because I use that walking in and out of the room is when I'm frantically writing my notes. I guess when another person comes in the room, I'm forced to stop writing the notes. And so when I'm not, unless you want it, you are perfectly, if you want to set a timer for yourself and cut yourself off and move on to the next singer, you are welcome to do that. All I ask is that you be consistent. Either consistently use a timer, or consistently just play all the videos and write your comments as you go. Either consistently watch those videos while you're in your jammies sitting on your couch, or consistently watch those videos while you're sitting at your desk feeling official, or, as always, we're all volunteers, but hopefully you watch the videos that these students have put together the way that you're hoping the rest of us watch your students' videos. Giving it the level of attention that you would hope that we all are giving your precious students hours, blood, sweat, and tears that they put into this. So that's about that. Typing the comments, save them in a separate document, cut and paste them. If this was not Zoom, I'd be like, could you please all repeat after me so that I know you heard it? But the sliders, I think that's clear. Many of you, you're precious to me that you have actual calculators, and you go and you calculate where exactly all those X's are, and that's how you come up with your score. I love that. That's beautiful. This is the point in the chapter meeting where I usually am like, listen, score broadly. Some of you who like to say this person was 92.2 and this person was 92.3. You are going to give us a nightmare of ties. Please score broadly. That is ridiculousness. So I'm going to share my screen again, and kind of show you what I mean. If we look at the rubric, which I believe I pulled up here also. Yes. So let me see if I can zoom in on that. Yes, I can. Look at that. April, how do you like that? Notice that the 70s do not say singers that suck. The 70s do not say god awful, please stop singing, go home. The 70s say developing, okay? So the singer shows little mastery of vocal technique required, or inhalation is often insufficient, or the text is pronounced inaccurately. Hello, that's like most of my personal singing and all my students right there. So if we're honest, all of our students are hovering in the 70s. But y'all are so loving, and you almost all want to give every student a 99, which says the singer shows mastery of vocal technique. Mastery of vocal technique for all their chosen selections. Makes appropriate choices in keeping with the style. Changes in registration are smooth and even. Okay. So maybe you have one or two students that are doing that. Inhalation is easy and sufficient all of the time. All of the time. The text is pronounced well and articulated easily, appropriate all of the time. All pitches and rhythms are accurate. All. Okay, so please, I know that we have a history in Nats of giving encouragement scores and being terrified of scoring lower than 90. But we can't, I cannot be offended if I get a grade sheet from somebody and my student got an 85 and I feel like they worked their butt off and they're amazing. As long as your comments justify it, okay? So if you're going to give my singer an 85, then I'm going to want you to say, loved your dress, super cute. I love some of the choices that you made for that style and the character. Most of your changes in registration were smooth some of the time. But for example, in this one phrase, blah, 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 or mostly your inhalation seemed easy and insufficient. But on this phrase, it was clearly tight and you ran out of breath or whatever. So justify your score, okay? If you can honestly say to a singer, I gave you a 95 because you show mastery of vocal technique and all of the time your inhalations were, okay, you get what I'm saying. And I know some of you disagree and are distressed. You also know we all get to know each other and we all get to know each other's scoring. So you also know, oh no, I have so-and-so judging. They're going to give my singers all 79s and we're all going to cry and be heartbroken. So as long as you are consistent with yourself, it doesn't matter. If you are going to start with a 70 and be like, we're going to start with 70 and go up from there. As long as you are consistent with yourself, that's all that matters. But I beg you, please do not score 92, 92.1, 92.2, 92.3, 92.4, or I will be calling you at 1 a.m. saying, guess what? You're going to break these ties. You're my new adjudicator and you get to watch 57 more videos. Oh my gosh, please, let's not do that. Score broadly if you can. At the regional and national level, they have you rank the students, and that's how they get rid of the ties, close to, but there still can be ties even when you rank the students. So we're not ranking the students at the chapter level, we're giving a score. So again, if you're over here going, yeah, most of the time, let's give that an 88. Let's give them like a 91 on their breathing. That was amazing. Okay, so you see that you're giving your little numbers there, that the number pops up. But notice it does not calculate the score for you. You're still going to need to put a score in there. So I ask you, just make sure that your sliders and your comments help us understand the score that you give your students. And now I've lost my control bar, so I have no idea how to unshare my screen. That's so exciting. I've never lost my control bar before. Okay, here we go. Are there any questions on that?
Amy, just to
Joanna.
clarify, in the score, we're not supposed supposed to include the accompanist ensemble score.
Correct.
It's not very clear. I think it says comments only, but
Yeah.
it might just be worth reiterating.
For online adjudicating, we are absolutely sticking to the rubric. And in the rubric, there's nothing that talks about the video quality was crap. The singer was too far away from the camera. The singer was too close to the camera. There's nothing in the rubric that says, I could barely hear. Okay, so you can put those comments in there, especially if this is a singer who might be going on to regionals. You can give them feedback on it. But I would say, like, maybe set it apart with an asterisk and say, this has nothing to do with your score, but I just want you to know I had a hard time appreciating the beautiful work that you did because I could only see one eyeball. Why don't you film next time and get your whole body in the frame? Like, hopefully we don't have any videos like that. Actually, I think the few videos that I have looked at are beautiful. You guys have done a stunning job. But we're not grading or scoring based on the video, on the audio, on the accompaniment. And in fact, if somebody is singing with their pianist, whether they are live or recorded, it doesn't matter if they're 72 beats behind the pianist. Again, that's not in the rubric. That's going to be a little bit hard. It's a little bit challenging, but for the most part, even when people are singing karaoke, they do a pretty good job of lining up with the pianist. It's a different thing. I think all of us can tell if a person is consistently 4 beats behind the pianist. It's not that they didn't know the song. Do you know what I'm saying? I think you can tell the difference if, like, the timing is just a little wonky because it's coronavirus time and they're trying to sing with a recording versus they just held that too long. They have no idea what the song is. Okay, so that's the only area where it might get a little, I don't know. But I think you're going to hear other mistakes if it truly is that they didn't know the beat, the pitches, or the rhythms. Yeah, makes sense?
So it's okay if they're totally off rhythm, like in a true, honest way. We can adjudicate on that. Meaning,
Okay, so
they're
for
not
example,
just
if
off because it's a digital thing, they're off because they have no sense of rhythm.
correct.
Okay.
So if they're singing, in olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking. And they go, in olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked at as something shocking. Well, obviously, they're like, okay, you'd be like, that's an interesting interpretation. Let's stick a little closer to what the composer wrote. But if it's, that the pianist is going, dong chink, and they're going, in olden days, a glimpse of stocking, but they're like 1 beat off, that could be a video alignment issue. So do your best to listen. The point is, listen to the singer. Adjudicate the singer. If the singer is consistently singing that song correctly and the accompaniment somewhere over here, does that make sense? Is that a better way of saying that? Okay. Because you never know. For all you know, your internet is wonky and your internet's playing you something funky. So, and bear that in mind too. If they go, in olden days, a glimpse of stocking was, you might be like, wow, maybe that's my internet lagging. Don't you love those lessons? Oh my God. Anyway. Okay. Stick to the rubric. If it's not covered in the rubric, it should not be part of your scoring. Please do your best to explain the scores that you give as clearly as possible. And I urge you to use the actual verbiage that's in the rubric. That's the safest way. If you launch off into your own and you start talking about, I don't know, something that's not described in the rubric of like, I think you should sense the ponies that are running in your stomach so that you can have a better kind of exhilaration. And like, it's like, okay, that's nice. But what does that have to do with the rubric? I love talking about ponies, but anyway. And I was going to say, what was the other thing about that? Shoot. I got so excited about ponies, I forgot. It'll come back to me, I'm sure.
Amy, may I ask a question, or do you want me
Of course,
to wait?
please. Yeah.
Was there any guidance from National or anything about how we're supposed to listen? So like with headphones, without headphones, on speakers, any kind of continuity to that?
There was a lot of discussion. Again, this is not something I can enforce, but I do recommend that you listen with headphones. For sure. I see most of you have headphones. If you guys have been teaching music, you probably have gotten in the habit of figuring out what sounds best to you. But yeah, listening with headphones is going to be your optimal choice. But there's
not like a standardized thing.
No.
Okay.
No, because that's that thing where like I can't come to your home and see that you did that. I can't really enforce that. So they recommend that. I mean, they also recommend that you use the Ethernet cable, and they also recommend that you set aside your whatever. It's all the stuff that you do in the privacy of your own home that I can't force you to do. But along those lines, y'all, once I send out this email of who your adjudicating team is, I will say here at the chapter level, if you just have a great love for the people that are at your table judging together, for example, you saw that it's Aaron, Vanessa, and Sarah. If Aaron, Vanessa, and Sarah say, hey, I see we're all adjudicating together. I was going to do it all Sunday afternoon. Do you guys want to Zoom together and we can share our screen and watch the videos together? You may do that. You still may not talk to each other about the singers, just like you wouldn't if you're sitting at that table. You can't talk to each other about the score you're giving, but you sure could sit there and be like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. And now you share the thing. I will say, Nikki knows at OSU when we did juries, oh my gosh, the thought of trying to do juries at home by myself was like the most depressing thing ever. But for all of us to Zoom together and watch the video together really made it much easier for the time to go by. Now, I realize everybody's schedule is radically different. Normally, yes, we would have the Saturday set aside and you'd be adjudicating on Saturday and you would have planned for that. So some of you guys might be like, Aaron, Sarah, and Vanessa might be like, well, I was going to do it Sunday. Well, I'm doing it Tuesday night. Well, I'm doing it 3 a.m. on Wednesday. And you guys will be like, yeah, do you? That's fine. You don't have to do it together, but I'm saying if you want to, you can. Just please still stick to the NAT standard that you do not discuss with each other the score. You do not discuss with each other your reactions, but you can suffer in silence side by side on your Zoom screen. Does that make sense? All right. I'm not going to facilitate that. So please don't email me and be like, Amy, how do we do that? I'm going to be like, yo, either you know how to do it or you don't. So
Amy, I have a question, if I may.
Yes,
ask.
please,
Yeah,
of course.
I spoke with Cara, and I think she had a similar problem. But with the auditionware, I had a student who she was 12, and she's like in 7th grade, I think. And anyway, I can't remember the grade numbers. But anyway, but the auditionware wanted to put her in the high school category.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
That's okay. That's just a limitation of auditionware. So yeah, you guys are going to see, you might have an 8-year-old who's in 9th grade. The grade has nothing to do with anything. That was just a limitation of that Brad just didn't add any extra grades to auditionware because, adding children and youth, we're only doing this at the chapter level. Again, adding folk and adding CCM, we're doing it at the chapter level, but I was told at the national level and at the regional level that if enough chapters add those categories, then it will filter up. If the majority of the chapters in our region start having children and youth, then we will start having regional children and youth. And if enough regions have children and youth, then national will add it. But right now, Auditionware is a national software. And so across the nation, not everybody has that. So that's no problem. It didn't mess anything up. A couple of you, my beloved co-chair included, accidentally grabbed some classical categories, which I was completely flummoxed. I have no idea how that happened. But that I remedied. No worries. Don't worry about that. And that also, like the whole, like what name of the pianist to put down, that was crazy business. Don't worry about it. It should not interfere with anything. At this point going forward, adjudicating, the only issues that are really urgent that I need to hear about are you pull up somebody's form, you click on the YouTube, and the YouTube song that the person is singing does not match what they said their repertoire was. That's a problem. Okay. So you need to text Beverly or Jennifer or I or email us. You need to reach out to us and be like, yo, I'm trying to do this adjudicating and I've got, 3 videos of some guy singing Johnny Appleseed and it's supposed to be a high school girl singing, okay, let me know ASAP. The other issue will be obviously it's all YouTube related. if it's clearly 3 different singers. In the past, it has been, that you're supposed to have a video showing the pianist and showing the original music. That's out the window. Because we have sometimes virtual pianists, sometimes actual pianists, sometimes the teacher. So Nats just said, okay, we're not gonna legislate that. Technically, if you had a real pianist, you still would show the pianist and the original music, but we are not, that's not for you as adjudicators to worry about. If you're concerned, you can, again, email Beverly, Jennifer, and I and say, hey, I don't see the pianist, but I think there's a real pianist. What's up with that? You can send me a little snippy thing, but I'm going to say, yeah, evaluate the singer. Assume that everything is on the up and up. The other issue that you're going to see as adjudicators that you do not need to tell us about. Some people went ahead and said their name, even though over and over and over again, it says singers should say the number, not their name. Please, whatever. Okay, fine. So a singer said their name. What are we going to do? They're not disqualified for that. It's frustrating that the teacher did not manage that, but it doesn't matter. Evaluate the student. Another thing that you're going to see is singers who either forgot to slate completely and they just start singing. Again, that's not in the rubric. It's not part of the score. It would be nice if they slated, but hopefully you know the song well enough, at least by the time they get to the chorus and you go, oh yeah, okay, it's the correct song. Sometimes there'll be a slate. The other thing is there have been several singers who didn't do the slate and then asked permission to add the slate to the beginning of the video. Again, that's not in the rubric. You're not going to score them on whether they have a slate or whether they added a slate. If you are concerned, the rules are that we're not supposed to have any after recording editing to the sound. So in other words, they aren't supposed to have added reverb. They aren't supposed to have used auto-tune. Okay, so they're not supposed to have messed with the sound. We're supposed to hear it like a live audition. If you have some concern about that and you're like, you know what, this really sounds like they took it at a professional recording studio and somebody was tweaking the knobs. Again, please evaluate the student as if everything is on the up and up, everything is exactly as it should be, but then just send a note to me or Beverly or Jennifer, preferably to all 3 of us, because we always end up forwarding it to each other and then that becomes a mess. And I'm writing a note to myself right now that I will make sure we post that, that I'll put that in the email that you get, and I'll try to put it on the website too, that you guys can just do a quick group email to me, Beverly, and Jennifer, and then one of us will address it, hopefully. Group email. Interestingly, some of our beautiful members will still email like a past president from like 5 years ago, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Reach out to your auditions co-chairs. Presidents have nothing to do with this. Any questions about that?
Hey,
Yes,
can I
Jennifer.
ask a question. Oh, so go ahead.
Sorry.
I do want to, again, I know we are adjudicating the students for like what's on the adjudication sheet, but I do want to clarify that on the on nats.org, it does say introduce each selection at the beginning of the video. Introduce yourself by saying, my name is blank. I will sing title of composition by composer. So it does say on the national website to introduce yourself by your name.
Is that in Brad's instructions, or is that, where do you see that?
No, if it's, hold on, I can't, my screen is gone.
I'm sorry. I just shared this, and I'll switch it so you can share your screen if you want to pull it up. But this link right here that says Auditionware Instructors for Online Auditions, I just want to warn you, the key thing in that is it says Auditionware. That link takes you to Bradley's instructions, and they're instructions for Auditionware. Those are not NATS standards. Those are not NATS. It was not a NATS board that came up with that. That was Brad Mills' precious self typing up how to do it. And so he said some things in the instructions that are not accurate and do not reflect NATS policies. So watch out for that. But
Yeah.
if you found it somewhere else, then that's curious to me.
Would you like me to share my screen and show? Okay.
So, I mean, the thing is, oh, whoops, wait, I can't. Oh, because this is not my,
Oh, but
there you
I
go.
can.
Yay.
Right here.
I should be.
And
able
this is from the nats.org website. And this is like this whole, what is this under? The YouTube round for chapter, district, and regional. And that's in the video submission guidelines under national student auditions.
Okay.
So that's like when I have gotten questions from people about that, like I refer to the national website.
Perfect.
I'm not undermining. I'm not trying to undermine. I'm just like adding to what's acceptable.
Yeah.
And Amy, I included this particular link for my students, and some of them read it and some of them read what I had written saying don't put it in there, but some of them did that because this is the national link. And
Yeah. Beautiful. So
I
here's
did
the deal.
same, too,
Here,
so
this is
I-
what I'm
I
trying to
have
say to you
half and
all.
half
Yeah, you're going to have it. It's going to be inconsistent. And so if you get a little nervous about that or a little judgy about that, or you want to write a comment about that, please make it clear that that was not what your score was based on, because that is not, we're not scoring based on anything except for what is in the rubric. Okay. But you can absolutely give a comment to somebody. It's the same thing where you're like, you know what, you're a beautiful, beautiful singer, but I was so distracted by the fact that you were wearing short shorts. You know, whatever. That's a comment you can make, but that's not what you base a score on. Yeah. So I'm trying to warn you. There's going to be a lot of inconsistency, and it's hard because when we do it live and singers are watching each other, they start going, oh, okay, I see the pattern. This is what I should do. And that we had none of that. You know that your singers are creating videos in a vacuum. So we have mixed guidelines. So if accidentally you go, oh, wow, look, there's Amy. Amy just walked across her student's video. You know, no, you're not supposed to know that it's my student, but you know, we all kind of know each other's students at any rate. So try and just use the rubric and give a great assessment. The other one that we always say with the rubric is this singer has a mastery of technique for their age. Yeah. So if you're doing lower high school, mastery of technique for a lower high school student. If you're doing an adult woman, you're saying this adult woman shows mastery of technique for an adult woman. You know, if you're doing children, you're going to say this child shows a mastery or an incredible pronunciation for their age. So just keep that in mind. You're not comparing singers to each other. You're comparing singers to the standard. Somebody had their hand up. I just saw somebody.
It was me. I have a question.
Yes.
So this is surrounding commenting on repertoire. And so if you're adjudicating a student and they are singing, I'm thinking of one of my students in particular, who is singing a song that, like, if this, and I think this has been like a debate in the past, whether these are treated as like auditions, or especially for musical theater or performance, where like, oh, they're singing music where they would never, it's inappropriate for them casting wise. And I think that rubs some people the wrong way, versus like, I have like an adult grown man singing 17 from Everlasting. He's not 17, he has a full beard. But like, so like, does that go under it? Like, does that go, no. And then that would impact anything? I think some people have said in the past that it might. Is that factor in?
Well, I think if I encountered that, I know that my default, I definitely listen to singers thinking of casting and thinking of auditions. And so I have to remind myself to look at the rubric and be like, does it say anywhere in the rubric that I need to think about, is this person able to sing this whole role? In classical, it gets a little bit different, because I definitely, when I hear a young singer singing an opera aria, that's different for me. And that's a classical rubric. That's not music theater. So I would refer to the rubric. And then if I think in Nats at the national level and trickling down, we're trying to move in a direction of much more inclusive and welcoming diversity. And so that's why our categories are now treble and tenor, bass, baritone instead of men and women. And so allowing someone to sing, you know, what in the past would have been, ooh, scary cross-gender casting or something. It's like, no, I think we're listening for tone, breathing, alignment. We're looking for, are they singing this with a belt, with a mix, with legit? I think those are the terms that are on that rubric. So if ever you find yourself launching into a criticism of a student, I think just keep checking yourself and keep checking that rubric and be like, am I stay in my lane? Stay in my lane.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on. I see lots of hands. One other thing about that is if you hear a student and you're like, wow, you are phenomenal. I would love to hear you sing blah, blah, blah. If you have repertoire suggestions, that's always fun. Especially again, if you justify it being like, your personality is so darling, I think you would sing the bejeebers out of whatever. Okay, I saw April, I saw Vanessa. If you guys use the little reactions, I think you can put a hand up and then or raise your hand and then I'll know to call on you. April?
I thought I read at some point, whether it was last year or this year, that if a student registered in a certain category and they were doing a gender specific idea, that was where they needed to stay, that they couldn't flip around. Like, so if someone was cross gender and they did something in one vocal fach, that they couldn't switch into another register.
I think that's dealing with. I think that had more to do with prepubescent singers, and that there might be a boy soprano who wanted to sing in the soprano category, in the treble category, and it didn't have to do with gender identity. It had to do with what range they're singing. But I don't know, April. That's interesting. I don't know that we're going to encounter that in these chapter auditions, but it would be worth looking up.
Okay.
Lisa?
Last year, I just thought I read something last year about that.
Well, find it, send it to me, because I think that had more to do with the range than gender identity, but I'm not sure.
Okay, that they had to stick with one specific. But I thought that it had to do with, so like if you had a young male who wanted to sing in the soprano alto category, that person would then sing the same.
Basically, you need to compete in one category. You can't be like, well, this song is a treble song and this song is a bass song.
Okay.
If you're a countertenor, you're a countertenor, and you're not going to go sing a countertenor song and then also sing a bass song. Pick one, I think. Yeah, I think. But please, April, if you find that verbiage and it needs further exploring, please send it on to us. Lisa, I saw your hand up.
Hi. So can I just clarify for scoring? The total score, is that supposed to be an average of the slider scores?
Yes.
Okay. So mathematical average.
Yeah, and like I said, some people use a calculator, some people just kind of eyeball it. But yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks.
Norm, did I see you have a hand up? Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, yes, the question. You may have covered this already, but for those of us who sent students, how can we find out what their forms were, or in other words, what the adjudication forms?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because since we are online and we can't hand you a certificate and a check in person for the honors recital, it is super, super, super duper important that you put in those students' emails and contact information correctly, that their addresses are correct, because I believe we will be mailing those things to them. And I believe once the competition is closed, that's a good question. Who remembers at the regional level, I feel like the students get emailed back their forms as opposed to us teachers, or do we teachers, do we log in and see them? I'm trying to remember how that's worked. I don't think I could log in and see my students' forms, but maybe I could. That's a good question.
I remember having to ask my students, did you get them? Did you get them? Did you get them? And then one of them didn't get them and the other did, but they did get emailed directly to the students, and then I had them forward them to me.
Okay.
And they were like they were either in the body or they were attachments for the text for.
Yeah. I vaguely recall that. I feel like I logged in and I couldn't. You know what, you guys? I feel like after the competition, I was able to log into Auditionware and go to my students, and I think I could see the completed forms, but I could be dreaming.
That's correct. That's how it goes.
Okay.
Yes, it's on
So Norm, I think
Auditionware.
by November 16th, you should be able to log back into Auditionware and see those forms, because your students can't log into Auditionware. So either it will be your students get emailed a link and you can go into Auditionware and see the forms yourself, or one of those options. But that's a great question. But yes, it's so important that that contact information is accurate for your students. And please warn your parents, if you used a parent email, I cannot tell you how many times we've tried and tried and tried to reach a student, usually from the tally room. And we're calling the mom, and the mom's like, oh, sorry, we were at Olive Garden. And you're like, oh my gosh. Anyway, Holly, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, what is the deadline to finish evaluating our videos?
That is such a good question. Let's look at what the website said, or the timing of it. But I believe it's midnight on Friday the 13th, because then we will be putting the results together on Saturday. I believe that we, auditions chairs, are going to be able to snoop on you, and we're going to see your progress. So if it gets to be Wednesday the 11th and you have not started your category of 26 videos that you need to watch, you better believe I'm going to be like, yo, how about you get started on that? And if any of you guys have done regionals and you've been very naughty like me, I've done all the naughty bad things for Nats. I promise I've broken every rule. Shinyi and I have a very close relationship, from her being like, Amy, it doesn't look like you have any comments. Can you get in there? And I'm like, oh, sorry, Shinyi. And Shinyi never sleeps. Do you guys know this? Shinyi never sleeps. Oh my gosh. She's amazing. Yeah, the adjudication period ends midnight on Friday the 13th. So do not think to yourself, oh, I'm going to watch those videos on Saturday the 14th. Done. Like I said, I'll already be sending you love and then steadily more hate mail. Like, get in there. Yeah, no, never hate, always love. But yeah, please preemptively communicate with me. It is 2020. Things have gone sideways. People have had all kinds of crazy stuff happen in their lives. So if, something crazy goes on in your life and you're like, wow, I cannot possibly do this, please let us know as soon as possible, and we will try and manage the situation. Please do not wait until 9 a.m. on Friday the 13th. Go, I just actually can't handle this. Then yeah, that would be terrible. Please don't do that to us. Yeah. Any other questions about that? Lovely. Use the rubric. Do not evaluate the video or the audio or the ensemble on your own or with a team. Allow time. If you are, I think 26, I think maybe one or two of you have like 30 because you had 2 categories to listen to. So, budget a lot of 30 is a lot. It's going to take a chunk of time. Oh, April, did you find it? Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, just curious, what was the total turnout?
We had 29 teachers and 158 students. So still pretty healthy. It's within the range of average. I think the last couple of years we've hovered between 170 to 190. So this is a little bit low, but it's not crazy low. And it's always interesting to me, which teachers suddenly showed up with a whole bunch of students, and which teachers who usually have a bunch of students showed up with none, and who's about the same. Any other questions? Vanessa.
There was something in there that was kind of, I know it was some wonky software deal, but it asked, there was a prompt for if you're available to judge, and it had like 7 or more different days, and you had to.
I know. That was crazy business. I think it's just because we have an adjudication period, and so it was asking you for everyone. I don't know. I'm hoping that has nothing to do with anything, because that's going to be an email to Bradley to be like, what the heck? because I follow.
Okay.
Oh, so
I-
it didn't have children and youth on there, which I would have picked to adjudicate, but it
Oh.
didn't have it as an option. So
Yeah, we ignore that anyway. That's lovely that Auditionware makes you think you get a choice in what you're going to adjudicate, but we ignore that entirely. We just make it work for the schedule. But yeah. That's because again, it's at the chapter level and Auditionware is at the national level. Shimena.
So, have you decided if you're adding the children and youth to the classical?
Yes.
I have a couple. You are for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
We're trying to do like a slow introduction and increase. So we started with children and youth at music theater. So for
Okay.
classical, we'll have children and youth and folk. And the folk will have all the way from children all the way to adult recreational. So basically classical festival will be kind of like a dual festival. So you could have a singer sing both in a classical and a folk categories.
Okay. Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Anything else? I mean, I know a lot of it's going to be just getting into it and seeing what you have. Vanessa.
Well, I just wondered, you mentioned the classical, and I thought I was going to have some for the youth and children this time, but I didn't. So I wasn't paying attention to the requirements for repertoire, but I think when I looked, it was just contrasting pieces. And so I wondered if we have any idea what those will be for classical.
I would welcome, I don't know what the agenda, I haven't looked at the agenda for our chapter meeting. But again, because we're doing this at the chapter level and it's not at the national level, I believe we could kind of form that the way that we want it to be formed.
Right. On that weekend, which is just 2 weeks away. Yeah.
They suggest 2 to 3 songs for the youth and for children in it. So it is up to us at the chapter level to decide how many.
Yeah. No, it's not how many. I think she's talking about what songs. So 2 contrasting songs, like, are they going to sing, Rubber Ducky and Ave Maria? Or are they going to sing, whatever from Annie, The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow? And like, does it need to be music theater contrasting? For classical, does it need to be art songs? So that kind of definition, yeah, it's a little bit more open.
Loosey-goosey, because when we did, we used to do OMTA voice syllabus, and for level 1, it was 2 songs in English, and level 2, it was a song in English and a song in Italian.
Mm-hmm.
Just wondering, how age appropriate and what people's ideas are of that. So we can just meeting. That sounds good.
And and I think also it might be one of those things of, well, let's just try. Let's just get some kids in there singing some stuff, and we'll, as we go, kind of be like, wow. Yeah, Rubber Ducky and Aki Fuse was a really interesting contrasting selection. I just don't see you getting cast to sing Rubber Ducky. Just kidding. Okay, April.
Do you want input before you meet regarding what would be reasonable repertoire expectations for the youth and children?
Joanna. Is Joanna still here? Joanna, do you want input?
Yes, I am. Sure. I mean, I feel like this is new territory, and whoever has some experience and feedback in this area, absolutely. So yeah, send it.
I see Beverly holding up her official item and shaking her head. So did you find parameters, Beverly?
Of course, it's there on page 15, and it says for children, and of course it doesn't say classical because there was no anything else except for classical in some time. 2 to 3 contrasting age-appropriate selections from classical repertoire. And
okay, so that's for classical.
For musical theater, it says 2 or 3. Whoops, I just lost that. For musical theater, it's 2 or 3 contrasting age-appropriate musical theater selections from musicals, including films, reviews, operettas, musical theater song cycles, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
And it has the same thing. So age appropriate is part of it.
So 100% they should be singing Memory and Dust and Ashes.
Absolutely.
Age appropriate. I want to see that show.
I have an 11-year-old that can knock the pants off a Dance 10 Looks 3. So that's good, right? That's okay. Yeah.
You guys have no idea how much I love you. I love you so, so much.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I would prefer that over hearing Dead Mom about 12 at a time. Dead mom.
Oh my gosh, you guys are hilarious. But again, use the rubric. Just when in doubt, go back to that rubric. Our job, I will try and post fresh on the website what our NAT's mission is, because that needs to be the overriding principle here. Does anybody have it memorized? We should I feel like it's the beginning of a 4-H meeting. We should recite the national motto or whatever. But I believe it's something about, inspiring and excellence and stuff. So we're not looking to crush anyone's dreams. Our job is not to say, you know what, give it up, go do something else. That's horrifying. But to encourage them to want to learn more and to encourage them to get inspired. Because, there's so many stories of the people that were like, you should choose a different, anyway, blah, blah, blah. Any other questions? Oh my gosh.
And in conclusion, because we still have a meeting after this, Amy.
We do?
Yeah.
Meeting day. Oh my gosh, it's meeting day.
We would have all had to grab our donuts and go scurrying to our rooms a long time ago if this was.
I know.
Morning.
It's true. This is luxurious. Actually, it's not luxurious. It's annoying. I'm sorry. It's long. But thanks, you guys, for sticking it out. Please go have a beautiful evening and sip that wine. Get that wine going on, or all that ice cream you described. Lordy, I need some ice cream with caramel sauce and peanuts or walnuts. Ooh. Or I need that chocolate peanut butter Tillamook.